Welcome to the Work in Progress podcast. This is a space where we want to create conversations around things that actually matter. Thanks for joining us today. We hope these words encourage you to know that no matter where we are in our journeys, we're all still a work in progress.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Christmas is here. Merry Christmas.
We rolling?
We're rolling, bro. We're rolling.
I was waiting for you to start.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
This is our, I guess it's not really a Christmas episode, but we're going to release it around Christmas, and we're going to talk about going home for the holidays.
I'll be home for Christmas.
That's right. I will not be.
I'll be home.
I'll be at my house. Yeah. So
dude, you're going to be at my house on Christmas, dude.
Maybe.
What? I thought we agreed.
I thought you were coming to my house.
Both.
Oh, okay. We'll just
Dang,
duel it up.
Freaking broke my heart.
We're going home for the holidays. Hopefully you are, wherever you are listening to this, hopefully you've had a great holiday season so far. We've gone through Halloween. We've gone through Thanksgiving. Christmas is on the horizon. And then New Year's. It's my favorite. It's my favorite time of year. Give me real quick, favorite Christmas movie. First one that comes to your mind is
Elf. Basic, but it's a classic.
Elf.
I'm a big Will Ferrell fan, so it's like
Elf's great. Elf's one of those. Do you realize it's like, I think I saw it was
20.
like, yeah, okay, 20 years old. I didn't know if it was 15 or 20.
It didn't even make
but
sense.
Man, that makes me feel really old.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we've got my 8-month-old son, and so every morning we've been watching like one of those 5 to 7 minute like old school Disney, like from the 50s cartoons with like Mickey, Goofy, Minnie, Pluto, whatever, like Christmas ones. He's been loving it, and I'm just so glad that he loves Christmas as much as I do. Like he already does. I can just tell. I love it. I love it. I mean, he loves basically everything that revolves around food, so he's a happy guy. Man, Christmas is fantastic. It's the Advent season. We've been celebrating it with our church over these past couple weeks.
Yeah.
And honestly, I love Christmas, but I am fully aware that for some people, Christmas isn't just these really super fond memories.
Right, yeah.
Or they're even maybe a little bit anxious or nervous or not really wanting to go home for the holidays. And so we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, like how do you process, how do you deal with your thoughts around dealing with difficult people or difficult circumstances when you go home for the holidays. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Let's dive in. You start.
Okay. Merry Christmas, dude. Yeah,
Merry
man.
Christmas.
Family is, I mean, even if it's not family, if you have a consistent group of people that you've always gone and spent the holidays with, that can be pretty chaotic, pretty crazy. Personally, it's always been go to my family's house for holidays, right? And so I guess it's like when you leave the nest and you come back, and I think it's like a thing that parents expect almost, you know? And so that's tough, managing those expectations right off the bat every year. That's the initial like thing to wrestle with or to juggle with, because that might not be what you want to do that year, or might not be like the best thing for you to do that year, you know, especially like in the season that we're in, for sure. Like we don't want to travel this year, you know, because we just had a baby. And so we don't want to drive multiple hours with a 2-month-old baby, 2.5-month-old baby. So it's challenging, man. It's challenging. Yeah.
The holidays are one of those times where like, right, nobody can make you feel as good or feel as bad as family.
Yeah.
And like, right. So when you think about, sometimes when you think about going home, you have to think about that grandma who asks a million questions as to why you're still single. Or maybe you go home to like that aunt or uncle that's asking you like, oh, why do you look like you've gained so much weight?
Yeah.
Or maybe like so much more than that. Like maybe you go home and you have a family member that, or a family where you've come from that, where there's like some abuse, verbal or, you know, abuse like that. And you have to go back and you have to like, you have to go and you sit down at a table during a holiday season with all those feelings and all those emotions. And so really, I want to talk about just some things that you can do, how you can process when you have to go home to a family where there's hurt. Right. And so again, on the top part of this, like, right, if you've been abused, like we're not telling you just to gloss that over, like get help, bring that to authorities, get counseling, all those things. But I'm talking about like those people who just really know how to like, dig that, into your wounds or your scars and just twist, or they just always know how to press your buttons or say those things that really get you fired up. And honestly, when I was thinking about this topic, I was actually listening to another podcast about this, and the call was to remember that as believers, as Christians, we're called to forgive. And that's really, really hard. Forgiving people, especially family. I don't know what it is about family. It just makes it that much harder having to forgive.
It's wild.
In Matthew 18, right, Jesus is talking to the disciples, and disciple comes up and says, well, how many times should I forgive? And Jesus gives that line of like 70 times 7. It's not like an actual, like, that's how many times. So if you're doing the math, don't worry about the math. He's not saying that's how many times you should actually forgive. What he's saying is like, forgive, period. And so one of those things that I wanted to point out is like, we are called to forgive. But so often we hear this term of like forgive and forget. That's not entirely true, right? So yes, as Christians, we're called to be the ones that forgive. But I also think it's healthy, if needed, to set up some boundaries.
Right.
And so like if you go and you forgive somebody that's in your family or in your household when you go back home for the holidays, I think it's completely okay after you have those conversations, and if there's no repentance on their side for apologizing for what they've done, and there's no effort to correct that, I think it's totally okay to set up some boundaries. Right. And so I think that's one of those things that you have to navigate, like you talked about when you leave home and then you come back home, because so oftentimes you go back into those spaces and they still see you as like the 12-year-old kid or, the 15-year-old or the senior in high school. They don't realize that what they've said affects and hurts, and you're processing that stuff, and you've forgiven them, but you can't forget those things. And so I think it's totally healthy to set up those boundaries, and really, like, I can't tell you like, here's how you set up boundaries. It's very much specific to your situation. But what I will say is you have to have the tough conversation, right? You have to go to the person that's hurt you, and you have to tell them like, hey, you've hurt me and I'm forgiving you. And you're going to own your part to whatever it is that you played. But if there's no repentance from them,
right,
if there's no trying to correct the wrongs,
one-sided,
then set up some boundaries. It's good for your health as well to be able to do that. So
absolutely.
I think that's just some really quick, not easy, but really quick thoughts on dealing with hurt and having to go home. But the last thing you don't want to do is you can't just act like it's not there. You can't avoid it. So you can't come up with enough excuses to not show up. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of one of my favorite Christmas movies, Four Christmases, which is also old, dating myself. Right, it's this comedy, but it's this comedy about this couple who doesn't go home because there's like hurt there. The root of it is that there's hurt there, and so they don't go home. And though they just avoided it, and they come up with these like crazy excuses as to why they can't go home for Christmas. And eventually, of course, like it's comedy, and so they have to do all 4 Christmases at once, one Christmas, and it's funny. But also it's very true. People do a lot to avoid having to go home for Christmas, and that's not healthy either. And so, it's a lot. And I say this as I wrap up that thought on being hurt is, you should be praying really, really hard for that person or those people that have hurt you. You should be praying really hard for God to soften their heart. And also recognize that if God can save you, then he can also save them.
Absolutely.
And so pray for them. Forgive them. But then don't forget, you can also set up boundaries. That's also healthy. So tell me about yours, man.
That's good, man. I think just to piggyback a little bit, like I think forgiveness is one of the harder ones, right? Because you feel that on a deeper level, right? It sticks with you not only in your heart, but in your mind, and you think about it and you fester on it and stuff. So if you're having a hard time with forgiving, then maybe you pray and you ask God to, like, God, soften my heart so that I'm able to want to forgive them. That person or these people, so that the holidays can be good, right? Civil or whatever that needs to be. But that's also okay, to pray for the want and the desire to forgive truly, But dude, I'll tell you what, my biggest, man, I see it all the time. So my brother and my sister currently still live at home with my parents. No dig on them, but like, it's just the situation. It's a fact. And so whenever we go to my parents' house, it's really easy for me to just like start annoying my brother or annoying my sister and like reverting to these old habits, these old ways. And I'll tell you the biggest one is probably laziness. Whenever you're at mama's house, she's doing the dishes, she's cooking the food. She even might offer to wash your laundry before you go back home. It's like there's a lot of things that put you in the position to where you're just like, oh yeah, like mom will take care of it. We're in her house. But that's also not good. You don't want to revert back to those old habits, because although some of those may be just like simple things like laundry or dishes or whatever, some of them may be more deeper than that, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing that we were talking about before the pod is like, you just want to make sure that you're staying in your rhythms that are good and healthy, right? So if that's reading the word, if that's an accountability partner that you need to talk to before going home, like, hey, Daniel, I'm headed home for the holidays. I got this really weird urge. I get this urge when I'm home to do this thing that I know I shouldn't do, or to hit up these people that I know I shouldn't hit up.
Yeah.
Would you mind keeping me accountable, like sending me a text or two a day, or giving me a call?
Yeah.
Or just being available whenever I need to give you a call.
Yeah.
Those are good things to do. And I know that, like, especially when you're single, it's really easy to go back and hang out with maybe the person you shouldn't, the person of the opposite sex that you shouldn't. Maybe it's like friends that like to get into trouble, that maybe still live at home and are still doing that consistently, that you moved away from or moved out of. Man, those are the things that get you, man. And like, what is it? 1 Peter 5:8, sober minded, be sober minded, be watchful,
be alert, be on guard.
Yeah, your adversary, the devil, is
that's right.
Prowls around like a roaring lion,
that's right,
seeking someone to devour. Always, right? I don't think the devil stops,
Nope.
And so that's why we have to have accountability. We have to be disciplined in the word. And, like, it's cool to be spoiled a little bit by your parents and stuff, but maybe like go out of your way to spoil them a little bit too, because they do this all the time. Like, I know in my specific situation, my mom cooks and cleans every day. So holidays aren't any different. It's just a bigger workload for her. So I could be humble, and I could humble myself and be a servant-minded person and say, Mom, let me get the dishes today. Let me clean the table. Let me help you cook. Those are all things that are really simple to do.
Yeah.
But for some reason, most people, when they go home, it's real easy to just revert back to.
It's so easy to go. It's so easy to just fall back into things that you've always done.
Yeah.
So you make a really good point about, even if it's like some of the friends you used to hang out with, maybe before you left home, you were not a believer, you weren't walking with God, or maybe you were, but it wasn't nearly maybe as strong. Maybe you've grown a lot in these last few years or whatever. And so when you go back home, it's so easy just to fall back into that. But the encouragement is that you can actually go home and be a light. Like, you're a light, period. That's what you're called to be. But how cool is that? You get to go back home during the holiday season and be a light, not only in your house with your family, maybe with some of those friends or some of those people that you used to hang out with. But it's about being smart. Like, it's not like, I'm going to go be a light when we go hit up the bar that we used to hit up, or hey, I'm going to go be a light when we go do, I don't know, all that stuff that we used to do. Like, right. It's not saying that, but it's a chance for you to say, like, no, I don't do that anymore. Not because I'm better than you, but because I've had life change.
Right.
And so you can invite people in to see that, hey, it's not just something that happens when I'm not at home, but it actually is the real me. So I think that's really good. And I think those two things are probably the biggest things that you'll see. But I just wanted to like sum up this whole idea of some of these, like, going home for the holidays and what it can do. And really, it's actually a couple weeks back, we were talking to our students about the holiday season and how so oftentimes during the holiday season, we get so caught up in all the things that the holiday brings that we actually lose out and we miss out on the actual meaning of Christmas. And so
absolutely,
really, I think even when you think about this, I could think about the hurt or the damage or the pain or just how much I don't want to go to that family member's house. All right. Or I can think back to, like, the old me and what I used to do, or having to deal with my siblings, or I can think about all these things, and I can put my focus on all of these things that my circumstances actually caused me to miss Christmas.
Right.
And so my encouragement is that much like Mary has in Luke 2.
Yeah.
There's a verse, Luke 2:19, where Mary is pondering these things in her heart. I would just encourage you to ponder the joy of Christmas, the truth of Christmas, and that even if you have to go to that relative's house, even if you have to go and have that dinner or see those people, ponder the truth and the joy and the hope of Christmas. Because it's my favorite holiday, because Christmas is awesome and there's great food and there's lights and there's fun. It's my favorite holiday because there's true joy. Like, it's Jesus coming to earth. And so when we begin to focus on all of our other circumstances and all the things that happen around us, we actually can miss out on the joy of the season. And so the encouragement is to not lose sight of the meaning of Christmas, but actually hold on tight to that, ponder that, and then let it bleed out into your environment, into your surroundings, into your relationships. And maybe it'll just be the best Christmas ever. Who knows? And so, hey, we're coming up on our time, and so we want to take a couple of minutes and do our creative corner. But again, like we've mentioned in the past, if something that we've said here that actually helps you as you head into the holidays, or maybe you're like, hey, this would be really good for. And I don't do this because you're like, yeah, I'm talking about you, the one that causes me hurt or pain. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like, hey, like, this is a good thing for my friend because I know they're dealing with this or they're struggling with this. Feel free to share. We'd love if you would share this. If it gives you some good practical advice, share that away, because most of us, they have to go home for Christmas, deal with some of this in some way or some situation.
Absolutely.
And so share it up.
Yeah, and if you are one of those people that you may not have an accountability partner or somebody that you go to for help, hit us up. I mean, man, like, the holidays are not just for family; it's for family, for friends, for all, right? And so, like, if you need accountability, then hit us up, and we'll make sure to help how we can.
That's good.
Absolutely. That's the good thing about the internet, right? Is that we can do that. We can do things like that without.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the internet. All right, internet. Creative corner. I'm gonna let you go first, knowing that you know who mine is, and I'm just gonna trust that you're not gonna steal mine.
I'm gonna steal it. Nah, my guy's name is Dustin Harper. He's at Dustin__ Harper on Instagram, and he is a creative designer, graphic designer. He works for a company called Church Media Squad.
Come on,
and dude, this guy it's
a good company.
He's so good. I mean, like, he's got retro themes. He's got like that Western theme that's kind of fire right now. He's just a graphic designer. A lot of our creators are graphic designers, but there's
some good work out there.
Yeah, there's some incredible work out there by these graphic designers.
It is great.
So if you're looking for a logo or a t-shirt or anything you want to get made or printed, hit this guy up.
Yeah, his stuff looks great. So definitely check his stuff out. I'm staying on brand with Christmas.
Heyo.
And I do love Christmas music. Matter of fact, I was looking at my Spotify Christmas playlist, and I think I was up over like 6 hours. So like 6 hours of Christmas music just on my playlist, which maybe is a bit excessive. But this year I added something new because it might be one of my favorite Christmas albums ever made.
Same, honestly.
Forrest Frank dropped Lo-Fi Christmas last month. It is so good. If you like lo-fi, if you like Christmas, if you like smooth saxophone, it's amazing. We have been playing it almost nonstop at our house. It's just perfect music to just sit and chill by the Christmas tree.
No, legit.
Go check it out.
It's so good. Especially if you get a little tired of like the older hits, the older songs, they're great. The classics are great. Yeah. But they're just like really, really old. So you can only listen to them so many times. He basically puts a modern spin on a lot of the classics. Yeah. And it's legit. Dude, he's been on fire. He did the Hymns album before this one, and now Lo-Fi Christmas. Good for him, I'm here for all the Forrest Frank stuff. So he'll be in Waco and come on. We'll make a trip out there. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Again, if you haven't been told yet, we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, but hopefully we'll have a podcast out before the New Year. So Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Enjoy. Hopefully these things helped. We will see you again soon. Merry Christmas. Dude, double handshakes. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Later.